Welcome to the Scarface Quotes channel. Scarface, 1983, is arguably one of the greatest mob movies ever created. The brilliant directing of Brian DePalma, writing of Oliver Stone, and acting of Al Pacino have given us a film that even 39 years later still intrigues us. Today we will analyze and break down the meaning of 10 of the most iconic scenes in the 1983 Scarface movie starring Al Pacino. Before we start though, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Quote number 1. Lesson number 1, don't underestimate the other guy's greed. Lesson number 2, don't get high on your own supply.
Lesson number 1, don't underestimate the other guy's greed.
Lesson number 2, don't get high on your own supply.
These quotes are both pretty straightforward, but iconic quotes that both ironically were brushed off by Tony at the beginning of the film. Frank essentially was warning Tony to never underestimate anybody, especially in a business with so much greed and violence. Tony underestimates Sosa's greed and feels invincible against the whole world. Unfortunately for him, he messed with one of the most ruthless, vicious bosses in the game, Alejandro Sosa. The second quote is one of the most iconic phrases used throughout pop culture nowadays. But this phrase should serve one to not overestimate themselves and think they can consume and sell their products at the same time. Quote number 2. In this country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, you get the women.
This country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
Tony Montana was always blunt and honest, and this quote is no exception. Tony quickly realizes in the town of Miami, where there are numerous gorgeous women and a limited amount of high-value males, that the only way to have a trophy wife is to prosper financially due to the core capitalistic ideology of the United States. Once you get money, people will respect you, and in turn, the women will be drawn toward you. Although I will say this phrase does hold a lot of truth, but it does not apply to finding true love, as you can see with Tony and Elvira's relationship and how it ended. Quote number 3. Oh well, what's coming to you, Tony? The world, Chico, and everything in it.
Oh, well, what's coming to you, Tony?
The world, Chico. And everything in it.
Tony demands more for himself. He demands excellence. He demands the world, which is what he believes he deserves. I think this quote demonstrates Tony's ambition and mindset to reach the top no matter what it takes. Most people would have been content with being in his situation, from being in an immigration camp and now set up with a sweet job in Frank Lopez's. But not Tony. He is not satisfied. He wants more. Because Tony Montana dreams big always. Quote number 4. All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
This quote perfectly embodies the moral philosophy of how Tony carries himself. Tony values a man who has his word and backs down from nobody. Tony never lets anyone push him around or intimidate him, and he lets the drug lord himself, Alejandro Sosa, know that he will not back down from him either. If you want to go on with me, you say so. If you don't, then make a move. Tony to Sosa. Quote number 5. Okay, here's the story. I come from the gutter. I know that. I got no education, but that's okay. I know the street, and I'm making all the right connections.
Okay, here's the story. I come from the gutter. I know that. I got no education. That's okay. I know the street, and I'm making all the right connections.
This monologue shows a more humble version of Tony, explaining his story to Elvira before he proposes to her. Tony is humble enough to admit he lacks a lot of qualities, but he knows with his street knowledge and the support of a loving woman, he could reach the top. Overall, I believe this quote resonates with many viewers, because not everyone is born into a good family or gets the right education and opportunities. But that's okay. If you have the determination and know the right people, you can overcome your background, especially in the United States. As Tony mentions, here's to the land of opportunity. Quote number 6. You know what capitalism is? Getting fucked.
You know what capitalism is? Get fucked.
Now, here is a glimpse of Tony experiencing that capitalism is not all sunshine and rainbows, and that despite his hard work and determination, someone always has to take a portion of his money. This scene takes place right after Tony has met with Jerry the banker, informing him that he will raise the rates of laundering Montana's money. Tony feels frustrated as he begins to the dark side of capitalism when it comes to dealing with corrupt bankers, politicians, media, etc. As Tony describes, they're the ones who want to make coke illegal so they can make their money. They're the bad guys. Quote number 7. Who put this thing together? Me. That's who. Who do I trust? Me.
Who put this thing together? Me! That's who! Who do I trust? Me!
If you couldn't tell by this quote, Tony has a few trust issues. But can you blame him? He has a nagging wife who seems unappreciative of his hard work to maintain her expensive lifestyle and is frustrated by the fact. But I think you can ultimately see that even Manny, who is supposed to be his right-hand man, doesn't have Tony's trust. And I think this is primarily because Tony's mindset was always about making money and rising, while it seemed like Manny enjoyed the pleasures of sleeping with women over the grind of making money, unlike Tony. Ultimately, this quote shows Tony in his ultimate ego-driven state, and it essentially is the start of the downfall of Tony's empire. Quote number 8. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
One of my favorite quotes, because this statement holds a lot of truth. As we saw in the previous scene where Sosa explains the mission to Tony, you can see the room is full of political leaders all across the world willing to work with drug lords who are supposed to be the bad guys. Tony realizes that the world is not black and white, that corruption and greed is seen everywhere. But what Tony does and the business he's involved in is looked down upon, while white-collar crime is ignored and treated differently. Tony embraced being the bad guy and let everyone know that they will never see another bad guy like Scarface ever again. Quote number 9. I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
The quote that many have recited and pondered upon is one of the most iconic quotes of the movie. What did Tony mean by this? Did it mean anything? Or was it simply a drunken, senseless rant? After watching this scene countless amount of times throughout the years, I believe Tony had a significant meaning by this phrase. I think to understand what Tony meant, we have to take a quick look at his background and personality. Tony is a man who came from extreme poverty and did what he had to become successful, even if it meant he had to embrace being the bad guy. At least with Tony, he was always authentic and always spoke the truth. Even if he told a lie, he would not have known about. Tony feels like even if he did bad things, he is at least brave enough to own up to it. While a majority of wealthy, influential people, like those in the restaurant, act like they are saints, when in reality, the corruption and evil runs deep throughout wealthy men and women throughout the world. Because at the end of the day, Tony always valued his word and therefore always told the truth. Quote number 10. You wait here, okay? I'll be with you. I'll be back. You wait for me. I'm coming back.
You wait here, okay? I'll be with you. I'll be back.
These were Tony's last words to his sister Gina after she was shot viciously by one of Sosa's killers. Tony realizes that his sister, Manny, Chi-Chi, and Elvira are all gone, and that it is only him standing as an army of hitmen are approaching his door. This scene is the only real glimpse we see from Tony showing real, raw emotion. He tells Gina how he loved Manny and how he loves her too. What is interesting to note is the fact that Tony likely told Gina, I'll be with you, because I believe Tony realizes he will not survive this attack and knows he will soon meet his fate, his death. This makes him even more dangerous because he not only is in a coked up mental state, but he realizes that he has nothing left to lose. But on his way out, Tony will never be one to go out easily. He is determined to take as many of Sosa's crew with him as he says, "I take you all to fucking hell." Tony was ready to unleash his wrath and went out fighting and leaving his legacy remembered. Tony nearly wiped out half of Sosa's army because was met with his fate when he had nobody watching his back. What was your personal favorite quote? Comment below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.